Technology.
Oh,
It's brilliant when it works.
it is.
So let us know if you can hear us and see us. I have now got the lovely Ummara here.
Hello.
From Bowls Rocks Trust, or commonly known as Bowls Outdoor Centre. I think a lot of people know it as. We'll just give it a minute and see if the lovely people that did join a minute ago are going to brave our Facebook Live. How long have you got? Because I know
I'm good.
You're okay for.
Yeah, we're okay. No problem at all.
Okay. Excellent. So I've known Bowls as an organisation for a very long time, nearly 30 years. But when I first knew it, I just knew it, and like most people I know, as a place to go climbing. I had no idea about all the other things that are there. I know there's a lot of people, their experience of Bowls is very different. It's whether they've come as part of a training, learning and development program, or whether it's because they've been there most of the time because they've been there as a child. And then I, as you know, I actually worked at Bowls for a short time, over 10 years ago, which is unbelievable. Yes, and Ummara is like, you are just a brilliant ambassador for Bowls, and the reason why it's such a brilliant organisation, I think, is just so important right now, is all sort of the reason I wanted to talk to you specifically was because I can just see how Bowls are going to be sort of come through and come out of the other side of this last 6 months, really good shape, because in my opinion, really, I think it's because you are purpose-centred. So can you tell me a bit more about that? What does being purpose-centred mean to you and to Bowls?
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you for inviting me this afternoon. It's a rainy, horrible afternoon, meant to be summer. I'm now regretting complaining the last couple of weeks ago that it was so hot. I'll keep my mouth closed next time. You're right. I had a chance to have a little think about what it means to be purposeful and purpose-centred, and I kind of thought it really boils down to 3 elements for me. One of those is feeling connected, having that feeling of being connected to something that's just bigger than myself, and working for a charity. That kind of makes it a little bit easier, because I think, as you said before, it's not just myself that feels this way. I think all of Bowls staff, if you cut us down the middle, we'd have Bowls running all the way through. And I think working for a charity for young people, you can really understand what we're there to do. We see it every day. We live and breathe it. So definitely having this connection to something that's bigger than just me is one thing that helps me feel purposeful at work. Understanding.
Going back, you mentioned about, what Bowls is there to do. Can you just tell our listeners a little bit more about that? What is Bowls there to do? What is Bowls all about?
So fundamentally, Bowls is a charity for young people. So we are an outdoor education charity. We work with thousands of young people every year, and I try and describe it as we take them on a journey from I can't to I can. So a lot of the young people we work with will come from a disadvantaged background. Perhaps they're disengaged at school or their family life, or they may be disabled or have some psychological challenges, say. So they'll come to Bowls, and we will show them how they can be outdoors and use activities to build their confidence, and understand that it's not just about the end point of their journey. It's every little step that they take will help them to become and grow bigger as a person. So a lot of the young people that come to Bowls will have had perhaps negative experiences in their life. They may well have been told, for whatever reason, that they may not achieve in their lives, either because of a disability or because of where they live or their education, or a whole host of things. And we're there to tell them that none of that matters. that when you step into bowls, you are you, and you are unique, and you are special, and you can achieve whatever it is that you set out to do. We will help you to achieve those things through building their confidence. And that's the most important thing for us, is to send them away feeling that they've done something that they haven't done before, that they felt part of a group, a team, helping other young people to understand how important it is to make other people feel nice about themselves. And I think sometimes we lose that sense of niceness because we kind of put this nanny state thing about it, and it's not that. It's about being kind, and that comes through in all sorts of levels. But activities are a really good way of helping young people to be kind to each other, and also kind to themselves, because there may be, there's a reason, maybe, physical reason, limitation for them to not to achieve, so climb to the top of those rocks. But by being kind and saying, you know what, you don't have to climb right to the top. If you put the harness on, then there's your first step. If you touch the rock and just climb a tiny little bit, that's your second step. And if that's what we can do with you, then that's a huge step from where you came to bowls thinking you could not do anything at all.
Brilliant. And of course there's that how that then translates to everyday life and helps to build their confidence in at school and in their lives. And what are your thoughts with the last sort of with the pandemic and how that's affected people, and why it's so important to have this kind of learning?
It's such a shame, because young people need us more than ever now. In a number of people, even within my own family, that you talk to, children are now feeling so disconnected from what's going on in the outside world. They're constantly being told that the pandemic is taking over, that we can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go out with your friends. So now they need us there to show them that you can, being outdoors, you are in a safe environment by being outside. It allows them to share their views with other young people as well. But we've obviously, along with a lot of other charities, we've got this whole thing now that because people haven't been able to come to us, the funding's not there. And at a time when young people need us the most, we're finding it harder to reach out. So there are young people out there banging on our doors to come to us, and we're doing absolutely everything we can to reach them. But without the funding, it all becomes quite difficult.
Yeah, and on that point, because I know, and this is an interesting point in terms of the community that we have here with the Entrepreneur Club, because I've often this is going slightly off tangent from purpose, but it's in terms of how charities are funded and how bowls particularly are funded. You are, in my opinion, really like a social enterprise, and like it, in my opinion, any business should be, because of the way that you fund things. Can you just explain a little bit more about how that works? Like whether, because people do pay, like the children still pay, but not all of them. And then there's a whole other side of the business as well, isn't there?
Absolutely. So we don't get government funding. So everything that comes into bowls from a financial point of view is there through, as you say, payment from schools. But we do offer bursaries to those young people that wouldn't be able to afford, because we don't want to close the doors to anybody. But we also have, on the other side, we have a learning and development team that works with corporate clients. So we work with IBM and BMW, John Lewis, organisations like that send their teams and leaders and apprentices for development programs at bowls. And any of the profit from those programs gets reinvested into the charity, and then allows us to be able to reach out to more young people. So last year we were able to hold an additional Young Carers Festival, and that was partly due to one of our larger clients. They came for quite a number of programs last year, which meant that we could then reinvest into the charity, which is lovely. And you know what? Sometimes we get corporate clients and they'll say to us, "Oh, but won't the children be disturbing us when we're doing our programs as well?" And we're very blunt and tell them that that's what we're there for. We're not going to tell the children to be quiet. We're not going to push them to one side. That the centre is there for them, and you are there alongside them. And every one of those clients that have, and it hasn't been many to be honest, but when they've then come and seen the young people there, they've actually gone away feeling really good, because they can see for themselves what a difference their program has made, not just to their own team, but by leaving a lasting legacy for the children that come through.
Brilliant. Love that. And they can see how much they can do.
It makes them feel, this is the whole thing about feeling good. We can't push feeling good under the carpet. It's not a fluffy nonsense thing. It's the thing, we all need to feel good. We all need to feel wanted and useful and purposeful. However, that, whether that's our young people, us as business people, we need to feel that sense of purpose and niceness. And it's not we shouldn't be ashamed to say it's nice to feel nice.
Yeah, totally. I think like feeling good really is what it's all about, and if feeling good is partly is going to be down to how much we're helping others, then that's perfect. So going back to purpose, so you mentioned about connection being one thing. What were the other points that you?
So it's being part of something bigger than myself. So from a charitable point of view, it's being part of a bigger picture, being able to contribute to the local community, and leaving that legacy. So again, working for a charity, it for me is very important. So from my background, I've come from the extreme other end of the spectrum. I worked for an IT company previously in central London, where money was no object. Anything we wanted, we just asked for it and it happened. Then I had my own children and changed and came to work for Bowls, where it was completely opposite. If you wanted something, you had to either bring it in yourself, depending on what it was, or you had to have a very good reason for doing it. And I think when I first started, I didn't really get the correlation between taking children skiing and rock climbing and charity, because the kind of when you talk about things like that, you think, well, that's what that's what children that have do. That's those are privileged things almost to be able to do. And then I got a phone call one day from someone from social services who was looking for a mentor for a child. And the child was 12 and had tried to commit suicide 5 times.
Wow.
And I didn't even get to the end of the phone call before putting it down and bawling my eyes out to try and get my head around how a child of 12 could feel so sad with their life that they'd want to commit suicide 5 times. Absolutely broke my heart and made me realise this: you kind of live in a bubble when you have your own children, because you give them all the love you possibly can and everything you can, and you do kind of assume that everyone is the same and loves their children the same way. And then you get this phone call and suddenly that was my penny drop. That's what we were there for.
And how did Bowls then intervene in that respect? How did Bowls kind of come into the rescue, as it were?
Well, we were able to offer an instructor for climbing, and it helped that young man to just be able to get away from the circumstances. The sad thing, you're only allowed to work for a certain amount of time, so you're not able to follow the journey all the way through. You can just contribute a very small amount, but we hope that contribution made a difference, and that's where our sense of purpose came through. Or that's where my real sense of purpose working for Bowls became a reality. That's when I understood that's what we were there for.
Brilliant. And I know you mentioned a few times about being a charitable organisation. I mean, my argument would be that actually any organisation can have this same thing, and I'd love to know what people listening, what they think about this. What do you think about being a business or an organisation that's bigger than yourself, and how is that seen in the work that you do? So it'd be great to know any kind of comments and any thoughts, any opinions on this conversation. So please do, ask a question or put in a comment. Okay, so your first point was around connection, and your second point was about bigger than oneself. What was your other point?
The last one is how it affects other people. So not just about how it affects me in that purposefulness of being able to make a difference, but what that impact is on the people that we're working with. So having that impact on the community, being able to work with school children. You mentioned earlier about how a lot of people know Bowls, either from skiing or rock climbing. And the number of, when we've done small conferences, the number of people that have come over to me and said, "Oh, your bowls, I went there as a child." And you think that memory that we've made has lasted from that person coming when they were maybe 10 or 11, going into year 6, and they're now adults in their own business place, and they still remember that. So that makes you, again, it makes you feel we've made a difference, because you've remembered, that memory has lasted with you, and you can draw upon that to give you strength later on. If I could do it then, I can do it now.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And so you were saying about it being, the effect on other people.
Yeah.
And another so what are you doing now in terms of how have you coped with the situation, like obviously not being able to have children come and stay in your accommodation, and likewise businesses presumably are not currently staying. So how have you responded to that? Yeah,
changes.
Your staff, and including you, I might add, I believe, are on furlough.
We've been on furlough. We're in that position now where we're lucky we can be on and off furlough. So that's made a massive difference to the organisation, as I'm sure it has done to many organisations. We're here because we've been able to be furloughed. So very, very grateful for that. But like others, you make changes, you adapt, you find out how you can work and still be able to make a difference at the same time, whilst adhering to all the new regulations around COVID-19. So we've had lots and lots of children on single day programs, because the year 6 residentials that would have taken place couldn't. So parents, we reached out to parents and said, well, those children can come, they can come for a single day. We had our summer adventure camp. So children were coming for 5 days, but going home rather than staying overnight. And it was lovely, because we had the first beginning of lockdown, obviously, we had no one on site. And it's not right. It just felt really weird. So then to have the sound of children's voices again was really good. So we've managed to adapt there. When they go back to school in September, it will be different, because obviously the focus will then be on getting them back into routines. But we're hoping to have a few more back for single days. From a corporate point of view, for our commercial programs, they're picking up already, which is great news. They were originally saying they didn't want to start until next year, but they're now starting to realise actually the whole Zoom thing is becoming not as palatable as it was at the beginning. So they're now wanting to do more face-to-face work, which is brilliant for us. So we're starting to see, from November, we're going to be having quite a few more programs come through the doors, which is brilliant.
That's great. And I mean, it would be also interesting to anyone that's watching their kind of views on this, in terms of the business, like how has being, either not in an office or your usual normal environment, or not being able to go to live in-person networking meetings, has it affected you? What do you feel like is going to be the kind of desire and need coming out of this? Are you going to want to be around other people or not? I suppose you've worked as Bowles, work with quite a lot of corporates, but you have done, and you are doing some work with smaller businesses as well, aren't you? And
right.
Together. So can you tell me just a bit more about that?
So in terms of the smaller businesses, it's harder sometimes with the smaller businesses, particularly at this time when there's less funding available within their own organisations as well. So I think the tricky thing we're going to find going forward with some of the smaller organisations is them justifying the spend. But that justification will come through the fact that people aren't able to meet. And as I say, it's the coffee point meetings that you have that people are missing out on now, that's where they get their ideas and they start bouncing off one another. And those things aren't taking place right now. So we're hoping as we go along, rather than maybe having larger programs, we'll adapt to what people want now, which is meeting space. It's a safe place to come. Obviously, because we're an outdoor centre, we've got our 12 acres, so we can safely host various different events outdoors. So we're lucky in that regard, that everything is outside, so we can host things. But it will be different for a while, until I think organisations get the confidence to start doing things differently.
Because in your lodge, you've got how many bedrooms have you got in there?
So we've got 16 ensuite rooms in the lodge. So we can host larger groups of people with our social distancing and measures in place. So
are you able to stay yet? Like, are you able to accept people to come and stay? Obviously as part of a group booking.
Yeah, we can do now. So we are now finalising our COVID-19 policies. We've measured out all our meeting rooms, so we've had our meter rule out everywhere, making sure that we can have enough people in our meeting rooms. The bar area is our saving grace, I think, because we can get the largest number of people in the bar, which is probably quite helpful for some, I don't know. And then we can do sort of 8 people in each meeting room. And because the lodge is a self-contained building, it makes it a lot easier. And what we will be doing, so talking about how we will change things, everyone will have their own pack when they arrive. So whereas before we would hand out a helmet and a harness and then take it back at the end of activity, now people will have their own pack when they arrive, which they will then be responsible for until they leave, and then we'll take it back, and then it will all be disinfected and ready to go in for another group.
Brilliant. Okay, great. I mean, it is. I obviously think it is just such a fantastic venue for so many reasons, and obviously the reason and the added reason for using bowls is there. Like, obviously the purpose.
Yeah.
And
we're really lucky, our clients that we don't have a marketing budget, but because the programs deliver on what the outcomes are for each client, our clients do our marketing for us. So thankfully they're all very happy to go online onto various social medias and say how good the program has been and what a difference it's made to their staff, which is really helpful when you don't have a huge budget. So we're grateful for that.
I was just going to have a look. I can't see any comments coming up on here, but I don't know whether it's because the StreamYard thing's not working. So I will check in a minute, and if you can as well, Ummara, and see if anyone has commented, and if anyone's watching this on the replay, #replay, and ask any questions, and we will come back to you on those. And I think my only kind of sort of addition to this is just kind of going back to the importance of being purpose-centered, and how if for any of you that came to my event that I ran it's probably a few months ago now with Paul Dunn from B1G1, which is a social enterprise, that's something that can facilitate giving and purpose for any business. So it's an easier way to kind of tackle it, but it gives you. He did a brilliant. He got everyone to draw a picture basically, but just showing how the businesses that are purpose-centered are the ones, as you mentioned, are all pulling together. They've got that connection. They know they're doing something bigger than themselves, and it's having an effect on others. And through that, that's the thing that's going to help you and any other business that incorporates that to thrive. And the ones that aren't are maybe burying their heads in the sand and just kind of like going around like in that sort of hamster wheel and just trying to survive, which I get, but it's kind of the more you can come back to, okay, just thinking about everyone talks about the why now, why are you doing your business? It doesn't even have to have a charitable kind of aim. It could just be inherent to what you do as a business. It's just, Mandy and Caroline that were both watching earlier. I know Mandy has a brilliant business for children, which is educational, teaching them French, and it's just brilliant. Caroline is in the wellness industry, so it's kind of all the things that people are doing just generally are going to have that. But the more one can engage and be with your purpose and being that purpose-centered, the easier it is to move forward and grow a thriving business that you love and that helps others in the process. Ummara, thank you. If anyone wants to find out more about bowls, what should they do?
Oh, please, if you send an email to us at development@bowls.rocks, or you can call in. We still have our admin team who are there on 01892 665 665. We have our bowls website as well, so it's bowls.rocks.
Brilliant, that's great. And I was just thinking, I think it would make a fantastic venue for retreats, which is something I'm working on at the
Yeah,
moment.
definitely. Get away from it all. Get away from the screen.
Exactly. On that note, I will love you and leave you. And thank you so much for being part of it. And apologies for all the tech issues at the beginning, but we got there.
We got there. We adapted and we got there.
Yay. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. Okay, bye.
Bye.